Pin stitches are a useful and versatile technique for anchoring your threads to start and stop. So I'm going to demonstrate how to do a T-stitch. This is a form of a pin stitch. And I have outlined the waffle stitch that I'm going to do. And I'm going to put my T-stitch right in the center. Now, this is really useful when you're working with a slippery thread like Neon Rays, which is what I'm doing here. And it's okay if you pierce the thread as you're making your pin stitch. That will just help to hold it more securely. I always do my pin stitches from the front without turning my canvas over. Okay, so here's my T-stitch. I'm going to bring the needle up where I'm going to begin. And then I'm going to get rid of this little tail here. I pull up and snip it as close to the canvas as I can. And that takes care of any little thread ends. Now I'm going to make my waffle stitch. This is just a simple waffle stitch over 10 canvas threads. And you can see that I've about completely covered up my beginning pin stitch already. So when you're deciding where to place a pin stitch, you should always look at the final diagram of the stitch so that you can find the approximate center in the case of a waffle stitch, or where most of the threads are crossing each other like a Rhodes stitch. And that will help you determine where to put your pin stitch. I'm also going to use the same kind of stitch, a T-stitch, to end off my thread after I've completed this waffle stitch. Even though I'm just doing a sample, I always try to use good stitching technique. Good to practice. Most of us are more accustomed to just running the thread through the backs of stitches on the back of the canvas for starting and stopping. And this is not always a good choice, especially in the case of something like a waffle stitch where there is not very much on the back of the canvas. Some of the stitches like a Jessica or Crescent have long, loose stitches on the back, and there's not really a good place to anchor threads in. So pin stitches allow you to anchor your thread securely. It makes for a neater back because you don't have a lot of thread ends, and you also don't risk disturbing the stitches on the front when you learn to start and stop with a pin stitch. You don't have to turn your canvas over to do it. Always make your pin stitches from the front. Okay, so now I'm ready for my last stitch of this waffle. Let's see if I can untwist this thread, just so, even though it's just a sample stitch, I still want it to look nice. Okay, so now I've completed the stitching for this waffle stitch, and I need to end off my thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my finger, or you could use another needle or the tip of your laying tool to separate the thread so that you can see the canvas underneath. And I'm going to make a T-stitch again because I want this anchor to be very flat. I'm taking care not to split any of the stitches that are on the front of the canvas. Okay, so here's my T. It's all finished. I'm going to bring the needle up one more time, pulling up, and I'm going to hold my scissors very flat and snip off the thread. Then I'm going to just take the tip of my needle and make sure that all of the threads are stroked properly back into place and my ending T-stitch is completely covered. So that's how to do a T-stitch, both to start and stop a thread.